2020 marks the 250th anniversary of the birth of Beethoven. Cities around the world will be celebrating his birthday. Beethoven is a truly global phenomenon, and each part of the world will be celebrating Beethoven in their own cultural way. Arguably, Beethoven is the most influential composer in the history of Western music. No one could outrun that long shadow of influence. His symphonies, his quartets, his piano sonatas exerted a huge pressure on composers as they wrote their own music. Why is this? In many ways, Beethoven inaugurated a new way of thinking about music. You know, he didn't call himself a composer. He called himself a tone poet. A tone poet. What does that mean? Well, it's a very romantic concept, really. It's about the idea that music has something poetic to say. In other words, music was no longer something that simply glorified the court or glorified God within a church, but intrinsically, music could make some kind of a statement. And this is particularly true of Beethoven's instrumental music. In some sense, Beethoven wanted to claim that that music was oracular. It could reveal something about who we are, where we are, and where we're going. Beethoven had two very unusual items on his working desk where he would compose every day. The first is a very small bust of Lucius Junius Brutus. He was the first consul of the Roman Republic, and that bust of Brutus symbolized the heroic, particularly during the French Revolution. This was a figure who was principled, who was disciplined, who was stoic. And in many ways, Beethoven followed the ethics of this person, because his music is also heroic. It overcomes situations and adversities, including his own deafness, of course. And it is a music that is highly disciplined, that is violent, but in a way that is very controlled. And it is a music based on principle, the heroic Beethoven. The other item on his desk was something a little bit more mysterious. It was actually on a piece of paper, and it was a quotation from the Temple of Isis in Sais, which is in Egypt. And it says something like this: I am everything who was, who is, and who will be. No mortal man has lifted my veil. Again, this was a very popular quotation in Romantic circles. And I think Beethoven was expressing something along the lines of his music being something beyond words. It was a mystery. Now, in the 18th century, music was something that was less than words. But with Beethoven, music became something that was more than words. It was something that was ineffable. And this goes back to the idea of music as oracular, as a revelation. It revealed something that language could not reveal. It had a kind of infinite expressibility. It was an infinite yearning. So when you listen to Beethoven, somehow you've got to believe in his music. You have to believe that this music is speaking to you, to your very depth. It's a kind of poeticizing or philosophizing of music, and it gets right inside you. In this sense, Beethoven made music very, very serious. This was a profound experience that he was giving to you, and you needed to understand it. Before Beethoven, people used to chit-chat all the time during concerts. But after Beethoven, people became silent in concert halls, particularly when contemplating a Beethoven symphony. Beethoven invented the modern audience. Somehow, when you sit in that concert hall, you imagine that this music is communing with you. That is a Beethoven phenomenon. So, as we celebrate Beethoven's 250th birthday, it's actually a really big deal. Because Beethoven did not only compose great music, he actually changed music.